Go ahead. Amritwani ji, Nitin bhai, are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Madan ji, Sunil ji. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe. Welcome to our Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe, over to you.
Thank you, Amritwani ji. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Madan ji and Sunil bhai for a wonderful session. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening to all of you. Today it's a rewind and recap session. So I picked up a topic that often comes up for discussion, and even if you listen about it, it can cause confusion in our mind. And this keep coming up in our mind whenever we hear, who's the real doer? Are we the doer? Is God the doer? What is free will? And all these concepts. So those are the ones we will tackle today very systematically, again from scriptural references, and what it truly means. It is true, and at the same time, it can be true, and at the same time, it is not true. Who's the doer when it is said it is God? And there is a famous Hindi saying, which adds to the confusion, which is like Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta. And then the free will aspect of it. What is truly free will? Yesterday also, I think this question came up from one of the participants: is free will really exist, or is it more a concoction of our mind where there is absolutely no free will? Right? God himself says that all the work is done through Prakriti, the nature, which is his energy anyways. So we'll go through those questions. And these days, I think there's a lot of discussion going about NATO, the Ukraine-Russian crisis. So I thought we'll pick up NATO only today. This NATO is from the shloka though, okay? And I will get into that. So yeah, I can see there's a lot of interest that is sparked with what is happening in that part of the globe. So I thought we'll pick up NATO and put it in perspective. So welcome again, everyone. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening. Let's get started with our opening prayers. By the way, before I go too far, I wanted to know we have International Women's Day coming up. So if you want to show solidarity against, with, in support of equality for women, and your voice against discrimination around that, and you are interested in giving a 30-second video, I would encourage you to put it in attendance tracker and send me a short clip. Our video team is compiling that. It doesn't have to be really fancy. Just a quick 30-second, you can pick up anything, any aspect of life, society, community, workplace, could be anything. And just a 30-second video where you lend your support to that. I can show you a brief that I created just so that you get a sense of it, and you can pick up any topic and send it out to me. You should not take much time. Do it in a, what do you call that, portrait mode, landscape mode rather, not portrait mode, and send it out to me. Those of you who are interested, you can send it to me on WhatsApp tonight, and then our video team will compile it and include it as part of their overall video by tomorrow morning. It's a good way to lend that support and create a buzz around it. So let me show you a quick video before we get into that, so that you get a sense of it. If you interested, I can send it to you personally as well. I created one just as a template, so to say, to help out. So give me a sec, I'll share my screen, and so that you can see that quick video, and then we can, oops, sorry, here's sound I need to do. It's a quick 30-second video. Are you able to see it?
Hi, I'm Nitin Kaushal, Director Cybersecurity at a financial institution. Gender bias against women at workplace, whether it is deliberate or subconscious, prevents them from progressing and not present them with a level playing field. Knowing the bias is not good enough. I commit to calling it out and take action when I see that. Are you in? You can. I can. Together we all can make this world a more level playing field for women at workplace.
So yeah, very simple. Something like this. You can pick up the topic of your choice where you want to call out the subconscious bias that are prevailing and put it as a 30-minute clip. So you have time tonight. Unfortunately, it's a last minute request. So as best as you possibly can do, do share it and text me separately if you want this template. That way it'll help out. Anyway, let's get started with our topic of our discussion today with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Krishna Vande Jagat Gurum. Radhe Radhe, welcome back again. So let's get started. Like I said, it's a rewind recap session. So I picked up a very, very important verse that you all can relate to. But before we get into that, this is what we are going to tackle today. What is free will? So if I were to read Seemaji's mind, she's saying that 10 feet rope that we have. Got it? Yes. We'll talk about that. Is it truly free or expensive? With an expensive price tag. Third question that we'll tell, do we really have a free will, or is it a mere illusion that we have? There's a philosophy that truly believes that no, we don't have a free will. It's all a Leela, God's Leela. He's just doing that to us. And what is the best use of free will? We'll see how far we can go into that. How best we can exercise our free will so that it is beneficial for us and not counterproductive for us, given the long-term goal of our life, human life. So I picked up this verse 2.47. This verse itself can have a discussion for more than a week, but I have picked only one aspect of it today for our rewind recap session. Like I keep on getting this question, if we have missed out from chapter 1 to chapter 2 because they joined late in chapter 3 or chapter 4, how do we cover up for that? And I keep telling that we will keep on revisiting the key concepts back and forth as we go along. That way we are all making a progress together, and all the key concepts that are needed from a tilling standpoint are adequately addressed. So today I picked up this concept of doer. Let's do this verse. We can pick up some participants who are interested to recite it, and then we will get deeper into the topic of our discussion today. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhu Mate Karmani. There's another of shlokas that is very popular verse in addition to that Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya that we did yesterday. All right, so I can see a few hands already. Amritavaniji, you can call them out.
Yes, Nitinji, Hasmita wants to. Can I give her first?
Sure.
Sorry, and thank you, everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Hasmita.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sangostva karmani.
Very nice, Hasmita. So Hasmita is an inspiration. She's probably getting close to teenage, I guess. I don't want to disclose her age or ask her that, but that itself is an inspiration for us. She has already started with volunteering, and now she has started reciting shlokas as well. So very nice. Keep it up, Hasmita. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we can probably pick 5 or 6 hands. A lot of interest.
Yes.
Okay, top 6 we will pick whoever Amrita Vaniji gives. And
Sure.
if you have new names, and if you have your video on, your odds of getting picked up are 100%.
Meenaji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Meenaji.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhu ma te sangostva karmani.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Meenaji, very nice. Radhe Radhe. All right, let's pick up a few more who are having their videos on.
Narayananji, go ahead, please.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu karma kadachana ma karma palaheturbhu ma te sangostva karmani.
Very nice, Narayanji. Ma phaleshu karma kadachan. Karma is not there. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Thank you very much. Very nice. All right, let's take a few more.
Rupaji, go ahead, please.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhu ma te sangostva karmani.
Wonderful. Very nice. All right, let's quickly pick up a few more.
Srivatsan, go ahead, Kanna.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Shivatsan, good to see you back.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhu ma te sangostva karmani.
Very nice. See, Shivatsan is our another inspiration. He's probably the youngest one here who's reciting shlokas, and so beautifully, like a flow of a river. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shivatsan. All right.
Sandhyaji, go ahead, please.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhu ma te sangostu karmani.
Very nice. Sandhya. Very nice. Radhe Radhe. All right.
Seemaji,
Seemaji.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, I will do the Mahabharata version.
All right. Sure.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhu ma te sango sattva karmani.
Yeah, very nice, Sivaji. Mate Sangostva Karmani. Very nice. Reminded us of Mahendra Kapoor in a female voice, though, but very nicely done. Wonderful. All right, let's pick up a few more.
Should we, Nitinji, or do you want to give them?
Yeah, if somebody has video on and they're interested, maybe two more and then we'll get started.
Okay. Yes, Samji, and I'll give it to Pragiji. Yeah.
Two more. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Samji.
Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karm phal heturbhu ma te sango asat akarmani. Radhe Radhe.
Sangostva Karmani. Yeah, it's all together. Very nice, though. One more and then we'll get started.
Okay. Pragiji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhu ma te sangostva karmani.
Very nice. Thank you, Pragiji. So the short translation, let's get started. Like I said, this shloka itself can have a discussion for more than a week. Maybe we'll do a workshop on Karam Yoga on one of the coming months. Today we are going to focus on the one aspect of it. So there are four aspects to the shloka that Swamiji has beautifully explained, Nato, as we are going to discuss. So the short translation for the shloka goes like, you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your action. Focus on the process, not on the outcome. That's one part. However, we are going to focus on this aspect. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities. Why should I not consider myself as the doer is what we are going to tackle today. Nor be attached to inaction. So let's get started. Like I said, Nato principle is basically not attached to outcome. You can remember that now, okay? Not the NATO where this whole Ukraine crisis has started spinning off. I was wondering, there's a dip in the number of participants, about 15, 20. And then I said, is it a coincidence that we have that kind of a trouble going on in the world? Maybe, that's taking a lot of mind space these days. But yeah, anyways, so this is Nato. So this is an extremely popular verse of Bhagavad Gita. Even the school children in India, they are familiar with it. And it does offer those deep insights in the proper spirit of work. And one of the important aspects, as you see, there are 4 aspects that are tackled. The first one is do your duty, do not concern yourself with the results, which is Nato. The second is the fruit of your actions are not for your enjoyment, as we generally tend to do. It's like, I want to do it so that I can enjoy the result, right? Bhog. Bhog leads to rog. We need to move towards yoga. That's essentially what God is telling us. Even while working, give up the pride of doership is what we are going to tackle today. And do not be attached to inaction. These are the 4 key concepts of Karam Yoga. Now, if you ask anybody, especially in India, you tell them spirituality, it's important. They say we already do Karam Yoga. Okay, we focus on our work. So don't tell us all these things. Now, doing Karam and doing Karam Yoga are like chalk and cheese. Karam Yoga is a very, very deep concept. And like the other day we were discussing, if we calculate the amount of time we have to realize God in this life is probably roughly, I mean, if you go on to live for 100 years or maybe 80, 90 years, maybe around 4 to 5 years. But you increase it by 300% if you start practicing Karam Yoga. Because life, you can use your day-to-day work, your day-to-day interactions as a laboratory as a lab to experiment and deepen this concept and basically give yourself ample opportunity to get closer to the goal of life. There's nothing better than Karam Yoga, practice of Karam Yoga, or understanding this concept deeply, all the 4 aspects of it, starting with the Nato, fruits of action, and not having a sense of doership and not being attached to an action. So today, let's get deeper into the concept of the pride of doership that is very subtle. It remains, I have done it, right? Even when we do some good thing to anybody, silently we are patting our back inside. I did it, I did it, kind of a deal. And that is what we are going to look at in perspective today. So let's get started. So third one is what we are going to focus on. So there are 2 kinds of doers. Okay, so you just need to, you have to exert yourself a little today. Like any other thing, when we try to learn or understand something, you just have to exert a little bit so that that concept sticks. I have done it multiple times, still it can slip away. So let's understand it. Hopefully it will make sense today and lay this, the concept will continue to stick and we can put it to rest, the confusion around this concept today. And we'll have a good discussion so that it's absolutely clear. 2 kinds of doers. What is the first one? The first one is the energy provider, the one who provides the energy. Okay. And it is in scriptures, it is called Prayojak Karta, the one who provides the power and the energy. And the second kind of doer is the one who utilizes that energy, the energy utilizer. So if you look at it, it's 1 to n kind of a relationship. Energy provider is 1 and energy utilizers are many. How do they utilize the energy? It's a function of it. Okay, so these are called Prayojyakarta. The first one is called Prayojyakarta. The second one is called Prayojyakarta. So even if you don't remember this Sanskrit term, just for the simplicity's sake, simply understand one is who provides the energy and one who utilizes the energy. Simple concept, right? Somebody's providing the energy, somebody's utilizing it. Now the utilizer, if you look at it, it's 1 to n kind of a relationship. You have one energy provider and then there are multiple energy utilizers. And how do they utilize this? It's driven by free will. How that energy is utilized is driven by free will. Let's look at it through an example. A simple analogy in real life. Okay, that is a beauty. I mean, Shri Maharaj Ji and Swami, they give us very nice analogies so that that concept sticks. Okay, it's not, nothing is in gray area. So here, when we have to lift the coal using a tong through our hand, okay, now let's exert a little bit and say, what is prayojak karta in this? Who is the energy provider and who is the one who is utilizing that energy? And the subject object that we had, object is obviously coal, but our hand is using the tongs to do that. So between hand and tongs, which is prayojak karta and which is prayojya karta? Anybody who wants to take that? Any hands raised?
I see a new name, Anupama ji.
Yes, Anupama ji, please.
Namaste, Radhe Radhe.
Namaste.
Prayojak Karta is hand and tongs are Prayojya Karta.
Wonderful. Anybody who would disagree and would like to challenge that?
Seema ji?
Seema ji would like to challenge that. Okay.
No, she raised her hand, sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to challenge. I agree with them because the tongs are insentient by themselves and they need the energy of the hand to operate and hold the hot coals.
Beautiful. Very nice. So yes, that's right. Let's continue. Keep making progress. So this is the Prayojya Karta. Because like Seemaji, you said, the tongs themselves are insentient. They cannot just go and lift the coal all by itself. It needs energy and inspiration as well. So Prayojya Karta is the one who's utilizing that energy. And where is the energy coming from? Energy is coming from Prayojak Karta, the hand itself. Right. So this is the concept here. The Prayojak Karta. Now, if we go even deeper, actually hand is getting energized by soul and soul is getting energized by super soul. If you look at the concept, the hierarchy of who is actually the ultimate source, hand is in this case is Prayojak Karta for the sake of simplifying the discussion today and understanding this concept. And tongs are simply following what hand is asking it to do, right? So in this case, the hand is Prayojak Karta and the tongs become Prayojya Karta. Now, the same way, the source of electricity, let's take another example. All the appliances at our home, everything is attached to the electricity grid. And that electricity can manifest in different ways. So electricity is appliance agnostic. It doesn't say microwave, I will give you more energy, and refrigerator, I will give you less because I like you more. Then there's nothing of that sort. That is, the energy is who is going to utilize it, completely agnostic to that. Agnostic means doesn't matter. It's going to provide the energy regardless. How it ends up getting used is determined by free will in case of humans. So electricity is electricity. A fan, it will make the fan move, it will make the microwave run, and it can make an electric car run. Electrical energy can be converted into mechanical energy and all that stuff, right? In case of humans, anything and everything that we do, the source of energy is the super soul or the God himself. Because if he takes away, he cuts that supply, we are dead. That is technically called death. Where it departs, we are not able to exude. So our mind, senses, intellect, and this gross body, they are all inert. Inert means they are sthul. When somebody dies, they say he passed away. Who passed away? Till yesterday, we were interacting with that person. That body is still lying there. Who passed away? The soul passed away. The body is still there. That is all sthul. Sthul means gross, basically, which is inert. It cannot subsist on its own. It's only the soul, and soul which is energized by super soul is making it sentient. Okay. So when it says Bhagwan ki marzi, yes, Shri Ramya ji, you had a question. Please go ahead. We can tackle this now. I know it's a little deeper concept which can often be confusing. So let's tackle that question, whatever you have right now.
I'm very sorry to interrupt in between.
No worries. No worries.
But if you unmute it, I wanted to say that the Prayojya Karta is the hand, the Prayojya Karta is the tongue itself can't lift. I agree to that. But at the same time, we should not be undermining the tongue, right? Because if we were to pick the coal with our hands would burn. So similarly, are we making a comparison that this is higher, this is lower, or?
No. The only point that is being derived here is that without the energy supplier, nothing would work. So if when we work, if the energy is cut by God, we will not be able to do anything. But how we put that energy to use is determined by our free will. That is where free will comes. For example, our eyes in themselves are inert. It is made up of Panchabhut, those 5 elements. So they in themselves cannot see. It's only when it is energized by God's energy, they are able to see. Now, if my eyes end up seeing Amitabh Bachchan or Shah Rukh Khan, or it ends up seeing a nice video, spiritual video, is a choice that I am making. Eyes are energized regardless. But what they choose to see is determined by our free will. Now, whether I choose to contemplate upon God or Guru or Kohli and Dhoni, whether I choose to watch a nice inspirational video, or I watch the, Ukraine crisis and what's going on, the world is going to end, that choice is made by me. But will God withdraw his energy from your eyes just because you're watching something which is not beneficial to you? No, he will not. Conversations with God is an interesting book. I won't say that they were actually God, but it might be an elevated soul talking. It has a beautiful line. It just got etched in my mind. Makes a lot of sense. So God says, your will is my will. Okay, just hear it carefully. Your will is my will. But that doesn't mean my will was yours. He will give you energy regardless. Okay, he will simply log the karma, how you ended up using it. Why? Because he has given you free will, which happens to be pretty expensive. If we were machines and robots, we would have not done anything wrong in that case because we are scripted. The fact that he has given us a free will, there is a price tag for it. And that price tag is pretty heavy. With great power comes greater responsibility. Like Spider-Man, they say, right? And that dialogue is there, with great powers come great responsibility. We have a great power in terms of free will. And it's only because we have free will, we have a power to choose. Now, this concept, I am not the doer now. In this case, when we talk about it, let's tackle this question. People say that God is the doer of our actions. And there was a movie, Ux, very interesting movie. This guy used to go and kill people, and they say, I don't do that. Like it's almost like Tulsidas saying, said beautifully, actually, one of his verses that he has written he says, na main kiya na kari sakun, sahib karta mor, karat karawat aap hain, tulsi shore. Now, he's saying that I neither wrote the Ramayana, nor do I have an ability to write it. Shri Ram was the writer, and people say that Tulsidas has done it. Now, if he says that, it makes sense. Why? Because he has aligned his will to God's will, he's perfectly surrendered. Until we reach that stage, we cannot say, I am not the doer. Let's look at it through another analogy. Arjuna and Krishna, when they were on the battlefield, previously Arjuna was directing Krishna, go there, take me to the middle of this and that. After hearing Bhagavad Gita, when he was completely Sharanagat, that means his will is completely aligned to God's will. And now you become simply an instrument in the hands of God. When you become a saint, or when you are fully Sharanagat, 100% control is taken by God. Now you are just an instrument. Like that first avatar we spoke about, where Narad Muni and Buddha, they become instruments of God at that point. When we reach that stage and we say that I am not doing it, it's only God, then it makes sense. Until then, it's our free will, and we have to take ownership for that. But does it mean if you do good work, you say, I did it? No. See, these are all the paradox you have to handle in your mind. These dualities we'll have to deal with. When you do good thing, it's called a window movement. You look outside. God, you did it. When you do bad thing, it's a mirror movement. I did it. It's because of my free will. So these are concepts you have to understand. But when we are fully surrendered, then we can give it entirely to God. I hope it makes sense. So again, just to reiterate, our eyes or our body or our hand, everything is inert. They are sthul. God gives them energy, which makes it sentient. How we end up using those, our senses, is our free will. Same eyes you can employ to watch something which is uplifting for the soul, and same eyes you can watch to watch Netflix or whatever. That is born out of your free will. And because it is born out of our free will, the soul has to carry that baggage. Right? It's like if God is doing it, it's like khana khaye Ramesh and vomit kare Dinesh. Aisa nahi hona chahiye. It's very unfair. That shouldn't be the case. So we have to understand this concept. So the first aspect is, if God was the doer, then he wouldn't have committed any mistakes. There won't be any crime at all. Why would God do crime? Every act would be perfect in this world. So that's the first reason. The second part of it is, then if God is doing that, then why do we have to bear the karmic reactions? The soul that getting tormented and getting reborn. It's again unfair. Somebody is having fun at our expense. So he's not the doer in that case. The third is God partial? That, he makes certain people do good things and certain bad. There are saints and at the same time there are criminals. We had Prahlad and at the same time Hiranyakashyap. Is God partial towards some people? That's also not the case. And if God was actually the doer, why do we need scriptures to begin with? The Bhagavad Gita can end in one line. He will simply say, "Oh souls, I am the doer of everything." You don't have to understand what proper and improper action is. The entire Vedas are written like Vidhi and Nishedh. Vidhi and Nishedh means do this, don't do this. And if he was the doer, why would he even say that? So let's understand it very clearly. We are the doers. That concept is there, but we have to handle its paradoxical concept. When we say God is the doer, that means he is the source of all the energy. When it is said, Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta, that means God is the source of all the energy out there. Not that God is doing everything. So anything good that happens, it might be an inspiration from God. Anything bad that you end up committing, it's because of you. So that is an attitude of a devotee to make progress on this path. So there's an interesting quotation in English. It says, inspiration is God meeting himself, and coincidence is God choosing to remain anonymous. I like that. But yeah, inspiration, when you get, there are sometimes you get the gut feel, or you just feel like helping somebody and end up doing something good. The key is not patting yourself on the back after that. Simply say, thank you, God, for choosing me to get something good done. That is uplifting for the soul. If you take the credit, that means from Gunatit you have come to Sattva, and you will get a nice luxury life possibly after that if you have predominantly done those kind of things. But that is still in material realm and it's golden shackles, and you are still operating at a Sattva level, not really Gunatit. So when we make our mindset that we give it to God, thank you, have a silent prayer or a gratitude that, okay, you gave me this inspiration, you chose me to help this person, gave me that privilege, used me as an instrument. That mindset has to be there, as opposed to thinking I am doing it, wow, how great I am, or telling somebody, I was trying to help that person, kind of a deal. It happens very subtly, very naturally, because of multiple lifetimes habit, but we can break it. And the beauty of this shloka is this one aspect that I picked up. There are three more. Like I said, if we start imbibing Karma Yoga in our day-to-day lives, start practicing it, it increases our time window that we have for perfecting our devotion and God realization by threefolds, 300%. So on an average, if we have 4 to 5 years of life, discounting our sleep and other standing up in queues and watching IPL and other things, it increases it from 5 years to 15 years, which is a huge bonus. Right? If you look at from a ROI standpoint, return on investment, huge investment, if you start imbibing Karma Yoga principles. And that is why this 2.47 is one shloka. Just put it on your wall and that's it. The best thing we can do, start practicing it, imbibing this concept. So hopefully the doer concept is making sense now. Any questions, if there is any confusion around it? So this concept of, let's tackle some of the questions around it. Okay, so I spoke about the window versus mirror movement as well. Now the other oftenly misunderstood concept is Maya making us do all these mistakes? Is Maya, blame it on Maya. Okay, your Maya is responsible for it and I have no accountability whatsoever. So it is yes and no, in the sense that the material energy Maya is definitely presents an option for the soul to act in forgetfulness of God. It definitely does that. But at the same time, Maya is playing another role as well. When we are allured by the temptations and endeavors to embrace Maya and the things that Maya has to offer, Maya punishes us and gives us distress. It punishes us and gives us distress. In this manner, it's actually telling us to love God, go to its master, not to come to it itself. In Ramayana, it is said, "So dasi Raghubir ki samjhe mithya sopi, छूट न राम कृपा बिनु नाथ कहूं पदरोपी." That Maya is a servant of God without kripa of Ram. In Ramayana it is mentioned. It will continue to torment the souls and continue to make them forgetful of him and continue to make you commit sins. And it will only release us and surrender us from its vice grip when we surrender to God. So it's stated very clearly in Ramayana as well. So don't blame it on Maya. Don't blame it on God. That is the key message. Take accountability for the mistakes that we do because we have a free will, and have a gratitude towards God for good things that end up or getting done through us. So those are the key messages. With that, I would like to open it up for a bit of a discussion. I've posted multiple questions around it. Pick up any one of these. I think I touched briefly upon it as well as the examples. Would like to take questions if anybody has around this concept of doership, free will, and any other things around, who's the doer, and just want to make sure we address those once and for all, because it's a very important concept as we go along.
Yes.
It often keeps coming up as well. Yes.
Sandhyaji has been raised hand. Go ahead, Sandhyaji. Your hand is raised, please. Radhe,
Yeah.
Radhe.
So Radhe Radhe. So as you have been mentioning, some things sound contradictory. I'm still not able. So why we should associate? I mean, I feel there is some sort of bias that in one way you are saying there's free will, but then also we are saying that only good things. For good things, we say that God is getting it done through us. I understand the logic that we shouldn't have pride and proud, but arrogance. But for anything that ends up giving a bad result, we are taking the responsibility. But that can also make us regretful at times, which I'm not sure how great that would be. I mean,
not regretful. It's like you have to take things. So end of the day, see, whatever you end up doing, are you with me that without God's energy, energizing it, you cannot do anything? Are you with me?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you agree that anything good, the virtues that we talk about, all the Devic gunas that we talk about, they are God's gunas, and they do manifest in small proportions in us from time to time? I hope the idea of spirituality is to increase that proportion so that it remains with us perpetually. Do you agree that those gunas are coming from God? 16th chapter verse 3 talks about all the Devic gunas and the demonic gunas as well. And we can relate to both. It is said we have good wolf and a bad wolf within us. Whichever we feed more becomes more powerful. So if something good or something noble or something uplifting is coming, you understand that that thing is actually coming from God itself, that virtue.
But yeah, I agree. But I think it's all, isn't it also about our perspective, what we see good and what we see bad?
True. So good, bad, it's our perspective, because again, now we are getting into a discussion, what is absolutely good and what is absolutely bad, right? What I'm saying is what your intuition tells you, something noble happened, kind of a deal, right? Then you simply give like, for example, you may end up helping somebody who said thanks to you. Thanks, Sandhya, that for that timely help that you extended means a lot to me. At that moment, are you going to fuel your pride? I did it. Or are you going to say a silent prayer to God? That choice you always have. When you make a silent prayer to God, you get more of His grace, more of those opportunities, because end of the day, God will not manifest in front of anybody. He may choose you as an instrument from time to time based on the kind of choices you made in the past. So then it's an opportunity to give a silent prayer to God, that thank you for inspiring me and choosing me, to act as choosing me as an instrument to act through me, kind of a deal. But let's say you do something bad, you hurt somebody, right? And that person is like, okay, that's the worst thing you have done to me, Sandhya. And you say, thank you, God, for choosing me to hurt this person. No, then you will say, Sandhya, we need to work on your tolerance and get better at it. So that is the way we can progress faster on this path, basically. But end of the day, God is agnostic. So He'll give more of, like I said, He does yoga kshema, right? So if you're actually investing that energy that God has given to more noble deeds, he'll give you more of it. Right? So you are accruing good karma. So that is how this principle works. End of the day, his energy is there regardless. It will get logged as a karma. But when we have the sense of understanding where it's truly coming from and have that expression of gratitude, we get more of it. But end of the day, see, even our existence depends on God. The fact that we wake up every morning, if we don't have God's energy, even that will not happen. So the duality aspect will remain for as long as we are not surrendered. The day we are surrendered, then we can claim everything is done by God. That day you can boldly claim that good, bad, whatever is happening is done by God. Everything is done by God in that case.
Right. And I had one more question in continuation of this. That's more like an example. So when we are, we as a free will doers, when we know that we are doing something, we can think of the consequence and accordingly decide whether we should have gratitude or take the responsibility. But when something happens to us by someone else, then how much we account it. So for example, if something bad happens to us, if we say that it is all the responsibility upon us, at times one can be revengeful, which might not be nice. It might be better to think it as prarabdha and let things go further, right?
True. So yeah, you're talking about, these are the practices we need to get better at by proper knowledge. So I'll give you an example of Guru Gobind Singh. So he was fighting a battle as a matter of duty to save his kingdom. And the soldier that he was fighting with, when he was at his mercy, he was just about to slay him with his sword. This guy spit back at him. When he spit back at him, when he was about to kill him, he stopped. So somebody asked him, why did you stop? He said, previously I was fighting him as a matter of duty. But when he spit back at him, I got that anger and a feeling of revenge. If I had committed that killing in that consciousness, I would have incurred a sin. It would have been a binding karma. So when you do it as a matter of duty, so if somebody hurts us, there are multiple ways of looking at it. It's like a postman, somebody delivering your letter back to you. Okay, maybe there's a credit balance game that is going on, or maybe there's a lesson in it that we need to get better at it, right? Increase our tolerance. We have to take a call on it. Now we can respond. Either we can react or we can respond. The ability to respond will come only when you can look at it in perspective and you are trying to tackle the problem and not the person. They say hate the sin, not the sinner. But if you're simply reacting just because it hurt your ego, your pride, and your own perception about yourself, and how could this person do this to me, is like that, then you are falling into a trap. Now you're losing the opportunity to respond with proper knowledge, with proper understanding. And the fact that this opportunity, I have all the three options. Remain, we are a soul, right? Remain where I am, uplift my soul, or downgrade my soul. You have all the three options, but all these calculations can happen if that knowledge is rock solid in your head. Otherwise, we'll simply react as everybody does and say, okay, it was justified, and we move on from anger to anger, revenge to revenge. But every opportunity actually prevents us all the three options. Stay where we are, maintain a status quo, uplift ourselves, make a delta improvement, or downgrade ourselves, become even worse off. So if you keep that in mind, it will put things in perspective. See, who's feeling upset? Has that insult touched your soul? No. Nanam chindanti, it can't even be touched. Our soul is pure. What has it touched? It has touched your ego, that subtle mind that you have, that false pride that you have, all those things. But when we think of it like, okay, there might be a learning or an opportunity for me to increase my tolerance, or maybe respond to this person if you feel something is unjust, then also you don't necessarily have to be angry or vengeful around that. You can still respond with a calm mind, and that will have a different impact altogether. Or you may think it might be a postman delivering my own letter to you. Why should I fight with him? We don't fight with a postman when they bring a good news. Bad news. So somebody might be delivering your own karma back to you. All possibilities are there. We just have to look at it in perspective. Tukaram's story is there, right? His wife was like always after his life. And one of the days he was supposed to go to market and do something, and all he brought back was a ganna, and all the gannas he had given to people on the way. She got so upset, she actually hit him with that. and it broke into 2 pieces. And he said, okay, good. Maybe God desired that I don't have to break it anymore. One you can have, one I can have now. But that is the mindset of saints. We are not there, but we have to eventually get better at it. Take a pause. We don't have to react. We are not obliged to react. It's a choice we can make. And then if it is good for your soul, we can treat it as an opportunity rather than, no, I just need to vent it out and get over with it kind of a deal. That choice is always there with us. Hopefully I answered a part of it. Okay.
A lot of questions, Nitinji, and many hands raised. So I'll be real quick. Can you please elaborate on the concept of window and mirror? Radhe Radhe, thanks for the wonderful insights. In the free will parts also, we are governed by a swabhav or the dominant guna in our actions.
Beautiful.
Impressions of the past birth. We perform actions in their influence and keep choosing the same things time and again. How to express free will in present life?
Beautiful point. Very, very relevant point. So first, window and mirror. Window means it's a leadership concept as well. They say when you are successful in life or you do something good, always look at the window. Always look at sharing credit, looking at people who have made you successful rather than walking away with the credit, I did it. So it's called looking out of the window. Okay, who all have made me successful? In this concept, you thank God. When I'm saying window, you don't digest the credit yourself. That is window. Mirror means you look at your face. I own it. So even in leadership, they say when some mistake happens, own it up. Don't look at the window and start blaming 10 different people. Okay, it's because of you, because of you, because of you. So we have a tendency when something goes wrong, we have a tendency to blame. Look at the window. And when something good happens, we have a tendency to say, okay, I did it. It has to be reversed. Something bad happens, I did it. Something good happens, it's because of you all. So this is that window and mirror concept. Mirror when we see ourselves, window when we see others. The second concept is a beautiful point. In fact, 2.37, Lord Krishna is saying, our Prakriti drives us. It is a very, very relevant. So for most part, we are in autopilot. Your tendency, your nature will drive you. Your mind will surprise you. Why did I think it that way? So for example, a robber, his tendency because of his past karmas is to loot, steal things. That is his swabhav. Now with that swabhav, he may have a Robin Hood moment. Okay, 50% I'll keep for myself. 50% I'll give it to somebody because he read some scripture or came in contact with a saint or maybe attending CIC sessions. He may say, no, maybe 50-50 we can do. So that means he's trying to override his nature now. Or he may have a moment and say, no, you know what? This is a bad thing. I should not do that. What if somebody robs from me? Will I like it or not? So through knowledge, he can beat that. So he's going against his swabhav. It's like trying to have a upward swimming against the tide. But you have that ability because of your free will. Your swabhav will direct you, but doesn't mean you have to be enslaved by your sanskars and your slap. You can override it. Your swabhav might say, let's continue sleeping. We have a lot of time left, but with your higher nature, you can tackle your swabhav. So swabhav is part of our lower nature. Higher nature is free will, which you can override your swabhav, prakriti, past sanskars, and even gunas for that matter. Okay. So you cannot say my man karta hai. Man ne, if you simply go by your man, that's it. You are done then. You are only going to deepen your swabhav, sanskars, and gunas. But the free will, if you can exercise it with proper knowledge, you can actually override that. You have that ability. There's no excuse not to override that with proper knowledge. And that ability, all of us have. Okay.
How Janamjay's story fits into this?
Yes, Janamjay's story is beautiful story. It is Honi. Honi is different from Prarabdha. Honi, there is something God's will. If God wants, should be a third world war. It will happen, okay, because of the crisis that is going on. So I don't know. The Honi aspect is there. There's an aspect of Prarabdha. There's an aspect of free will. And there is an aspect of Kriyaman Karam that we do. And there is Honi also. So Honi is something that is meant to happen at a macro level. It is controlled by God. Like, for example, Honi is Kali Yuga will last for 4,32,000 years. It is a Honi. You cannot extend that life to 8,064 to a Dwapar or a Treta Yuga. Similarly, Mahabharat battle had to happen because reconstruction was needed. So Honi, we will never come to know what was God's will in a particular situation. And there are things he let those happen. They are preordained. Kalki Avatar is going to happen. And at that time, Kali Yuga is going to be really bad. Really bad. Our scriptures say the sun will be 10 times hotter. The average age of human will shrink to 16, 20 years. People will start becoming grandparents at the age of, those kind of cannibalism will be promoted. The area where the agricultural land will shrink. So we can only hope that with good, God's grace, we don't repeat in Kali Yuga again. But Honi aspect is fixed. We will never come to know what is a Honi. Prarabdha is also fixed. Kriyaman is in our hand. Free will is in our hand. So we should focus on our Purusharth as opposed to thinking too much about Honi, because that we will never come to know about it anyways. So Janmejay's story is more about Honi because he started off by asking a question: why did Lord Krishna let that war happen when he was God? So Vedavyas told him that is because there is Honi has to happen. And God knows why it has to happen. There's a good reason for him. He just knows it perfectly, that this needs to happen at this one because it is good for, it is for the larger good and for the years to come. Okay.
Is Russian soldier in Nishedh mode and Ukraine in Vidhi mode?
I wish that is a very right question to a wrong person. So I wish I could crack Mr. Putin's mind. He's an ex-KGB guy. Pretty interesting character. So I don't know what is Vidhi, what is Nishedh, but I think from a sense of duty, see, even if I'm under a wrong leader and I'm doing it as a matter of duty, for the sake of country, then it makes it, so our intent makes the whole difference in everything. We'll talk about dharma aspect of it. What is dharma? Because this shloka that we are on 4.7 in the sequence, yada yada hi dharmasya, we'll talk about dharma. It's a very, very interesting term. What is dharma? What is proper dharma? Did Bhishma Pitama, did he err on dharma? Did Karan err on dharma? Did Yudhishthir err on dharma? We can talk about all these concepts. So yes, the soldier, what is his dharma? God knows, but the only thing that is within our control is the purity of our intent. That is the biggest asset that we have, that God gives credit for, and it is called an insurance policy that we carry with us all the times. So always keep your intent purified. Why am I doing it? Do I have my own interest? Is it really good for the other? Am I approaching it with empathy? If I'm venting my anger, is it to help other person, or is it just to feel lighter and better? All that boils down to our intention. Okay, let's hear. And there's another topic I wanted to discuss. Sometimes we get into the trap of trying to help people around, exercising our free will to influence somebody else's free will by thinking we can actually help them. Just one thing I want to, we can get deeper into that topic. It's a very interesting way of looking at things. Yes, it's obligatory for us to help out people, as long as they are soliciting and as best as we possibly can. But if we could change just by hearing it from somebody, one lecture of Shri Maharaj Ji or Swami Ji should be good enough for us in life. One lecture. Then if we cannot change just hearing from saints, how can we expect that when we are not even saints, people will listen to us and they will understand and we can transform their lives? Not possible. We have to approach it with a bit of a humility and understanding of let go, that we can do only so much. If we start dissecting personalities, people, situations, circumstances, it's a wild goose chase. This material energy is infinite, and we try to box it into the frameworks that we understand, whether it's related to psychology, whether it's related to the social models. No, we cannot box everything. There's only so much we can know, and what we know is probably just a tip of an iceberg. That is how vast this material world is. All right, any other questions?
There are a lot of questions, Nitinji. Is Seen in Ukraine a trailer of Kali Yuga?
Kali Yuga, see, every era people say Ghor Kali Yuga has come. Okay, so if you go back to 1960s, 1870s, people will say Ghor Kali Yuga has come. So these things are, this world is meant to be like this. Things will happen, they will settle down. So if you look at it from a macro level, is the world going to end? No. Kali Yuga still has 4,32,000. So take off 5,000 years, 4,27,000 years to go. And every era will present its own set of challenges. To err is human. We are not perfect. And this greed of territorial greed, power greed, all that interplay will continue. There's only so much we can do about it. So rather than worrying about the world, I think we focus on our journey, how we can uplift ourselves and make a good business case for a better life, or maybe a better planet, or maybe directly go look. That will be a better utilization of our time. But these kind of things will always continue. If you continue watching BBC, you will say this world is going to come to an end. You maybe even become schizophrenic. There are people, they are friends. They are actually telling me this world so they're worried about it every second day. And they've been worried for the last 15 years. Okay, but has the world come to an end? No, it will not. At a macro level, it is well within control. There were concerns that if you give nuclear codes to a president, right? I don't want to name the president. Is it going to make the world, push the world back to the ice age? But no, at a macro level, it's very well within God's control. At a micro level, these things will continue. But yeah, these are the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Maybe we can devote one session only for Kali Yuga. What are the things you can expect in Kali Yuga and not get surprised? Okay. And if you are so worried about Kali Yuga, we should do Chintan, not Chinta. Chinta is worrying unnecessary about things which are beyond our control. Serenity prayer we did yesterday. If you do Chintan, then it is like Gautam Buddha. Get to the root of the problem and get out of the problem itself. This is unnecessary Chinta. The better utilization of our thoughts, energies, Chintan, so that we can attack the root. Let's get out of this material world. That is a better way of, worrying about something. So
I'll now give to people who have raised hand. They've been waiting for a long time. Pramodji.
A minute each, maybe. I think we have 8 minutes at best to go.
Yeah, Pramodji, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
And please put the feedback tracker as well. I would like to hear from you. Always like to read that, so you can post that as well, Tamaniji. Or you want to make announcements, then you can make announcements and then we can take the participants.
Yes, the feedback tracker has been posted, so please take a moment to fill that. I just now posted it again. And like Nitinji said, we do have this International Women's Day celebration things coming up. So please do send in your videos. You can send it to Nitinji in WhatsApp or to me. Is it okay, Nitinji?
It will be my extreme pleasure. Thank you.
And we do have this parenting workshop that's coming up. So I posted that link also. So please take a moment to see that. Yes, Nitinji, I'll give it to now Pramodji for, go ahead, Pramodji. Thank you for waiting.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Pramodji.
So I will attempt to answer the second question. Why doesn't God bear our karmic reactions? So God is like an independent entity, right? He has given us free will. As you said, he energizes us, and the law of karma is perfect. We get what we deserve because it is our free will, that what we have chosen to essentially do with that energy.
Yes.
And the other thing I would like to point is that God is very merciful, graceful. He is ready and willing to inspire us through his unlimited grace. It is we who have forgotten how to reciprocate to him by not listening to him.
Very true.
So they say that, Jai Ram Ji ki or Jai Shri Krishna. It is like we are fighting against the will of the God, and that's why when we say Jai Ram Ji ki, it means that in this battle may the Lord win, right? So that is the underlying aspect of it, and so that's why it is what we deserve, and that's why we bear the karmic reaction and not the Lord.
Wonderful.
That's my understanding.
Beautiful point, Pramodji. Very true. In fact, the relationship that we have established with God right now is basically karma, action reaction kind of a relationship, where he's being a perfect justice dispenser. The more we move towards a grace-based relationship, the better off we will be. So if we take credit for what we do, we are establishing a karma base. He will give us the results for that. All right, you did good karma, you thought you did it, I'll give you good results. The more we start surrendering to God and understanding where it's coming from, the more we are moving towards a grace-based relationship. Right? He said, offer the fruits to me. He says, don't be attached to inaction. So when we start following this principle, we will draw more of his grace, and we are moving more towards a grace-based relationship as opposed to a perfect justice based relationship. So right now we are anyway getting action reaction because we think ourselves as the doer, and we are not following the principles that he has laid out for us. Great point. Thank you, Pramodji.
Jatinderji, would you like to unmute yourself? Radhe Radhe. Your hand was raised up.
Hi, Radhe Radhe. No, actually, I had a comment, but I think Nitinji has covered really well. And it was my experience actually yesterday, being on the side of truth. And the other side was, I think, whether it was their perspective or lifestyle, or like it was between dharma and adharma. So the situation sometimes we face in life, like, it's very difficult to accept, no matter how strongly we believe that we are on the path of right. But sometimes we don't even have chance to say it, the way the system is set up and the other person has gotten the upper hand. So how do we accept that? Do we need to prove them somehow, or do we just need to swallow? So my takeaway was that, no, as long as you are truthful to your soul, as long as you are closer to your soul, which is pure, then you have nothing to worry about the other side or what they would think.
Very true. That's very true. I mean, it's not a horizontal game we are playing where what you think and what people think, they're not going to give us a gold medal. And at the end of the day, God is not going to give us a gold medal that, hey, by the way, 4 people thought really highly of you. So well done. End of the day, how honest we were to ourselves and how much spiritual bank balance we have acquired is what we will going to get the credit for. So there, and I mean, it's very contextual, subjective, but sometimes we just have to let go and swallow it at times as well, and take it to closure in our heads, because if we make it as a focal point of our life, God is not going to, I mean, we are wasting our life. One thing, if we continue hanging on to it and make it a focal point of our life, maybe that's a lesson we need to learn, let go and move on, because it doesn't define the success or failure of our life. It's a much broader game than getting hung up in one thing, material thing alone. It could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be anything, basically. Again, it's very contextual. Maybe we can discuss a little deeper on that, but at least that's what I could think of based on what you asked. So
Samji, you can go ahead if you can turn on your camera. Another
Radhe
Samji. Radhe Radhe ji.
Nitinji said that if we follow our heart, then we are gone. In most of the cases, that's what happens, because we don't have sufficient knowledge to operate for our own upliftment. Then in one of the verses in Bhagavad Gita, it says, do your prescribed duties. Then they say, follow your dharma, swadharmas. So what is the difference between following your heart and versus like do your prescribed duties as per your nature? What is the difference between those two?
I don't know, completely understood it. But let's talk about dharma more detail. We will pick up that topic in our subsequent sessions. Maybe tomorrow or day after it will come. We will talk about that dharma, and I think we can tackle this question there. Dharma also is of 2 types, paradharma and aparadharma. For as long as we think ourselves as a body, all the worldly dharmas are incumbent upon us. When we start attaching our mind to God, then there is no higher dharma. And we will look at it through some specific examples, which normal people will say, no, this was the right dharma, but actually it was not. We'll get into some of those examples from scriptures. Maybe we can tackle that question. I think it's a much deeper question. So day after tomorrow, if you can join tomorrow and day after, I think we'll tackle it in one of those sessions when we get into the dharma aspect of it. I know we are over time, so, and quite a few hands, so maybe a couple of participants we can take real quick, and then we can continue this discussion tomorrow. I know it was a pretty loaded topic today, so a lot of questions would be there. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll take 2 more and then we'll get started. We'll wrap up this session.
Seema ji, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
Okay. Can you put that other screen on, please?
That screen have decided to move on in life, but let me pull it back again. All right.
Why doesn't God bear our karmic reactions? Because we are the ones who have done the karma voluntarily with our limited free will. So why should we expect God or anybody else to bear the consequences? That's one thing. What I wanted to answer was Sandhya's question about dharma and adharma. And it was my conclusion that the Pandavas really didn't win the war. It is the dharma that won the war. And as long as they were upholding the dharma, they appeared to win, appeared. The same is the case for us. As long as we uphold the dharma, we appear to win. But when we do adharma, owing to the pride and the ego's desires, the failures are ours, and we have to bear the consequences of that.
Beautiful. I know there was a discussion going on Pandavas and they went to hell, and then why those were to heaven. We'll talk about that concept as well in one of the sessions. I was looking at that discussion. It was kind of an interesting discussion. Maybe one of the sessions we'll go through that as well. We'll take one more, and then we will call it quits because Amutawani ji has a so we should just take one more and then call it quits for today.
Lakshmi Prasanna ji, go ahead, please. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, I just of understanding to the session is that we are not perfect because of law of karma. We are into the lifetime that's our
Not audible.
Lakshmi ji,
not audible.
We cannot hear you. Sorry, not audible.
Now you are able to hear me?
No.
Maybe the journey, the signals might not be picking up. So I'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, we do have a couple of hands. We'll take them. Likith ji, go ahead, please. Thank you for waiting.
Yes.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, sir. Sir, is it audible?
Yes, very much.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, I would thank you for this wonderful lecture. However, I have one question which may be out of this context of today's. So my question is that suppose if we are targeting some higher goals and people around us sometimes try to discourage us by saying that you can't achieve, you are not meant for that. So in such conditions or cases, if you try to boost our confidence by saying that, no, if you try, you can do it. So if I try to say that in my mind, I sometimes feel that according to Bhagavad Gita, I am attaching myself to the results. So I'm getting doubt that is it the correct way of boosting my confidence in focusing towards my goal or not? Thank you.
That's a very interesting question. We'll pick it up when we discuss some of the dharma aspect of it as well. Maybe it's a way, opportunity, or God's way to tell us to insulate yourself from what people say and focus on what you can do in your right. I'll tell you a story of a rat race. Okay, there was a competition amongst the rats who will climb, who can go up to the mountain top. And when the rats would start climbing up, a lot of rats would start pulling them down. Okay, come down, you cannot go down, go up, and pull down. And the rats will just fall off from the way. There was one rat who just kept on climbing and he reached at the top. Okay, so then when all the philosophers and scientists went through why is it that he was completely immune to what people were saying around him, then they realized this rat was deaf. Okay. The point is we have to become deaf to what people say and focus on what we want to do. They are not going to define the success of what you're supposed to do, right? And when we get into the dharma aspect of it, that's where we can get it wrong. You are not attached to the outcome. You should be attached to the pursuit of excellence. So there is a difference between that. When you are attached to the pursuit of excellence, that I'm going to do the best that I can possibly do, given the abilities that God has given me, that is the right approach. And regardless of what people say. But when you think, no, I have to do this because I have to prove a point to others, that's not the right way to go. When you just make pursuit of excellence as your goal, everything else will follow. As opposed to becoming, okay, I need to get this. If I don't get this, it defines failure or success for me. That's not the way. You can put it in attendance tracker. Maybe we can have a deeper discussion, especially around the point that you had. We are very late today. 10 minutes over, which I promise Mutawani ji will never ever happen. So let's wrap it up. We can do our closing prayers with everybody on. Hopefully we'll get lucky today. Let's give it a shot.
Nitinji, if you can post the community portal, because there is someone who's asking if we can get previous lectures, previous sessions.
You can get some of the videos have started loading fairly regularly. There's a week's delay at best. And then I post content from time to time. It is being moderated for various reasons. There might be some courses coming out and stuff like that, and content is the king, right? You know that. So because of that, it is being moderated. So you'll have to put up with that. But if you're attending sessions and making notes, feel free to do that. And I'll be uploading videos from time to time. So you should not be able to, you should be able to catch up on most of that action. Let me post the link if you can give me a second. That way you can.
Kumarji has written, like in Lagerahu Munnabai, let us not hate Putin, but send him wishes to get better with his thoughts.
Lagerahu Munna. Okay. Yeah, we are not hating. Hating is not the case, but hopefully war, I don't know, what is good, what is bad. I'm not watching news, but because I have enough people around me who give me the updates. So right, I have outsourced my worries also. All right, I posted the link to everybody. You can join that portal if you have not already joined. A lot of resources are there, videos are there, special sessions, a lot of good and discussion forums. Please do join. We can do that. Let's do our closing prayers then, Amritawaniji.
Sure.
Unmute if there is an unmute.
You can unmute yourself. Those who want to recite, others they can be unmute.
And make sure, sure, that will be good. Okay, let's do that then. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sarve
Santu Niramaya
Very nice. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Nitinji, recently when Prakash was like 2.47, we have to always remember it 24/7.
Oh, beautiful. I got it. So I'll borrow that original then. 24/7. 24/7. I will add an improvisation to it. 24/7 by 365 and by 366 in leap year. Okay, so
Thank you, Nitinji and ma'am and everyone. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe.
you
Sorry,
tomorrow.
I couldn't give today chance to many of them. Padmaji, Shamji, sorry about that.
And also me, Amritawaniji.
Kumarji, I read your message. Kumarji, that's why.
But I will do it tomorrow. No problem.
And please send your videos 30 seconds if you can. Solidarity with Women's Day. I really look forward to that. You have time between now and tomorrow morning, my time. So if you'll send that, really appreciate that. Our video team would love it. So thank you very much. Radhe Radhe. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe.
Good night. Good day.
Yes. Good night and good day. Thank you, Rahulji. I'm closing the bridge now. Thank you, everyone.